But that doesn't mean he'd go so far as to blow up his own ship.
Silence!
The defendant couldn't bear to mar his good name. Now could he? No, not after the media branded him Saul Starbuck, space pioneer extraordinaire. Given these conditions, the defendant could hardly run away like some base mutt. What? So that's why you think he resorted to the bombing? Naturally. He constructed the act of sabotage in an attempt to blow up the space center, which would effectively abort the launch, but spare his reputation. Now I'm sure you understand why we have to bring justice down on this atrocious criminal. Thankfully, only the 2 astronauts were in Launchpad 1 at the time. The 2 of them managed to make it back as far as the boarding lounge. But after they escaped, one of the 2 was found stabbed to death. Oh, It's like he's trying to give us as little information as possible. Maybe Prosecutor Blackquill's got his tongue. Well, don't let that hold you back. Keep pressing until we get what we need. So she's telling me to keep pressed.
Hold it!
Are you sure it was only 2 of them? It was just before the spaceship was set to launch, so of course it was only those 2. Well, there could have been somebody else inside that rocket.
Silence!
Silence! The notion of a third party in Launchpad 1 is utterly absurd. Just to enter the area from the lounge, one must pass through a door guarded by a fingerprint recognition device that allow me to state up front that there are precious few with the clearance to do so. A fingerprint recognition device? It sounds as futuristic and complex as a space center. Actually, it's not as amazing as you think, Your Honor. Take a look at this photo. Okay. This is the door to the lounge with fingerprint lock. Only personnel whose fingerprints are registered can pass through. I see. That is very different from what I had in mind. And is there a record of the number of people that passed through that door yesterday? Yes, there were only 3. The defendant, the victim, and the director of the Space Center, Yuri Cosmos. Then doesn't that mean it's possible that the director is the one who did it? Not a chance. He was in the main building when the bombs exploded at 9:28, doing his job directing the launch. Besides, having an alibi, he has no motive for committing these senseless acts. He has a point. I guess the director can't be considered a suspect then. Don't ever mark out anybody. Everybody's a suspect. Press.
Hold it!
So while it would appear that the pair barely escaped with their lives, in actuality, one of them had already been murdered inside the rocket. That's the angle the prosecution wants to push, correct? You got it. In fact, that's what I've been trying to say this whole time. If the victim had been alive, he would have for sure tried to stop the bombing. Is there any chance Mr. Turner could have been killed before he boarded the rocket? They were both alive as well at boarding time and embarked under their own power. Their hearts full of hopes and dreams of space. And then both their hopes and dreams were dashed. If I may continue, my explanation after the evacuation order was given. The defendant made his escape carrying the victim to make it look like a rescue. But after the escape, one of the 2 was found stabbed to death. Press.
Hold it!
There's a couple things he gave us by pressing him. And who was the first to find the victim? Actually, there were 2 of them. The Space Center director, Yuri Cosmos. Oh, it's a chick. Oh, no. Oh, Arme. Detective Candace Arme. One of them was a detective? Yup, Detective Arme specializes in bombings, you see. She and the director were ordering the evacuation following the explosions. They were also worried about the astronauts, so they hurried over to the boarding lounge. That's when they discovered the victim along with the defendant. 2 witnesses, huh? And one of them is a detective? But she died. Didn't she die in the first case we did? I doubt either one of them had anything to say that would help me. Or has she not died yet? I think that's pretty much covered the details of the case. Only the victim and the defendant were on the launch pad when the former was killed. If this is the truth, then only Mr. Starbuck could have carried out this crime. What little I could get out of him only hurt my case. Justice, don't know. Foolish is the warrior who rushes headlong into battle. Preparation is an essential element of battle, so I advise you to take a gander at this. What is it? footage from a security camera as the two astronauts emerged from the bowels of Launchpad 1 corridor. The boarding lounge security camera captured their desperate escape. Now, I would direct your attention to what the defendant is shouldering, which you can see is none other than the lifeless body of the victim. What? I can't do that. I do like this music though. Order, sir! This lines up exactly with what the prosecution has been asserting. I should have known Blackquill would have something like this ready. Apollo? How exactly did you determine that Clay was already gone in that footage? Ah, I see what you mean. Whether Clay was still alive at this point is pretty crucial. Your Honor, please take another look at the footage. Isn't it possible that Mr. Terror was still alive here and that Mr. Starbuck was helping him? Why, I believe you're right. One man carrying the other to safety. What a beautiful expression of friendship.
Silence!
Perhaps that's what it looks like to a one-eyed pothead and a dotard, but it only makes sense if the victim's dead body. What do you mean? Oh, Wright, explain it to Justice Dono. You got it. Ready, kid? If the murder had occurred in the lounge, someone could have spotted it. Anyone can enter the lounge after all. But doing it while they were alone in the spaceship, that's a horse of a different color.
Objection!
But you can't deny that there's a possibility the murder could have happened in the lounge. All that video shows is a man helping his fellow astronaut out.
Silence!
Your assertion is based on emotion. It's based on your belief that Mr. Starbuck would surely help his own disciple, but you have no logical explanation as to why the victim could still be alive. Unfortunately, Mr. Justice, the prosecution is right. Your argument is lacking in sound logic. But it sounded perfectly logical to me. Well, Mr. Justice, if you have no further objections, I believe it's time to bring this cross-examination to a close. Objections? Well,
Hold it!
Athena found something. My girl! Your Honor, the defense requests a little time to think and regroup. Given the facts, I'm not sure I see the need. What is it, Athena? It's just, there's something that's been bothering me. If it isn't the defense stalling for time as always. We won like the last 2 cases with this dude, did we not? I believe we did. Very well, I'm feeling generous. You may have a small measure of time. Yes. You have 5 seconds. But 5 seconds? After that, I declare this cross-examination to be closed and a verdict to be rendered. Your baldness, raise your gavel high. It's time for a countdown. Oh! Ready? We don't have time. Spit it out, Athena. Only 3 more seconds. Ah! Look, I don't think the prosecution's explanation is very complete. Meaning there's something missing. Like they conveniently left it unexplained. Something they didn't explain? Something they didn't explain? Ah! You're right. I think I know what you're talking about. Your 5 seconds are up, Mr. Justice. Is there anything about the prosecution's argument that you'd like to rebut? Yes, Your Honor. Actually, there is. There's something the prosecution has yet to make clear to this court. Well, if you put it that way... They have failed to explain why Mr. Starbuck would bother bringing the body back at all. If the defendant wanted to kill the victim, why didn't he just leave the body in the rocket? Why go through the trouble of bringing him all the way back to the boarding lounge? Oh, that's true. I don't think we've heard the prosecution's thoughts on that yet. That's because they have none, Your Honor. After all, how does one explain something so illogical? The prosecution is claiming that the defendant moved the victim's dead body. But what if the entire premise of that argument is wrong? Now let's hear your theory, Mr. Justice. The defense proposes that the defendant didn't kill the victim. He was helping him. Ah! Fulbright, explain it for our sad friend here before I nod off to his monotone monologue. Inform him exactly why Spaceboy moved the victim. Huh? They've gotta be joking. It's simple. Mr. Starbuck did what he did to direct suspicion away from himself. He wanted to create the impression he heroically risked his life to save us. I thought that. You know what? Honestly, while I said this, I thought that's what they were gonna say. That's why he made sure to make it to the security camera so there'd be record. At the very least, he appears to have achieved success with you and the old man. Ah. One man carrying the other safely. What a beautiful expression of friendship. The average person wearing a spacesuit weighs easily over 200 pounds. Saving the life of a partner who weighs as much while trying to escape deadly flames. What a dramatic sob story fit for the silver screen. Indeed, I was completely taken in by the humanity of the story. You see, yet the true ending is that all traces of this hammy act were meant to be blown up. Yes, and now we arrive at the thrilling conclusion. The third explosion.
Objection!
What are you talking about? There was no third explosion.
Silence!
Indeed, you are correct. But that is thanks to Detective Arme. It was she who identified and secured the bomb. However, it doesn't change the fact that the third bomb was discovered in the lounge. The steel coffin beside the witness stand, that would be a bomb transport case. We use that transport case to deactivate the bomb here. It was found in the lounge. What? What? One on the second floor of the main building, one on the launch pad, and one in the lounge. The defendant planned to set off 3 firework displays. Fortunately, the third was discovered before it could be detonated, for had it not, the victim's body and other vital evidence would surely have been immolated.
Objection!
God! Before you utter a word, I know that the evidence supports me. It's like he's reading my mind. As it is still undergoing forensic investigation, I do not have the evidence on hand. However, know that a peculiar item was found in one of Mr. Starbuck's pockets. Specifically, what? A bomb detonation switch. You found what? Wright. I suspect the defendant had no time to source such evidence. When the Space Center director and Detective Arme stumbled across the murder, so he thought to hide it in his pocket. No, that's not smart at all. Evil brain that he is. Ah! No, Mr. Starbuck could never do anything like that. Ah! Justice Dono, open your eyes and see the truth. This appears to be irrefutable evidence that the accused set off the explosions. No, there has to be some kind of mistake. This can't be true. Still can't accept it? You'll believe in your client come what may? Then why don't you cross-examine the defendant himself? This has got to be a trap. It's like Blackwill's controlling the entire game. Yeah, it seemed like he was waiting for me to bring up the body moving issue. Why do you say that? Because he had just the right argument when I pointed it out. And to really rub it in, he had a decisive piece of evidence up his sleeve too. He was trying to shake my faith in Mr. Starbuck and break me down. Then making her cross-examine Mr. Starbuck at this point was part of his plan too? Totally underhanded, but I wouldn't expect anything less from him. Now let us hear from the arch-villain, the fiendish murderer himself, famed astronaut Solomon Starbuck. Does he have something against him? Witness, your name and occupation, please. Solomon Starbuck, an astronaut. How did this happen? Mr. Starbuck, you aren't looking very well. Will you be able to give testimony? No. Well, unfortunately, no is not an option. You are being accused of the Space Center bombing and the murder of Clay Tarrant. Please testify to these allegations. Mind if I take this suit off? It's getting really heavy.
Silence!
It's not the weight of the suit that you feel, but of your sins. Prepare to carry that weight for the rest of your life. Banish me to the moon. I don't care anymore. Wow, that was super negative. Is he going to be alright up there? He'll be fine. I think. As long as he doesn't totally give up and say he did it, that is.